We're ready in the room, Susan.
Yes.
We are ready in the room, yes.
This is Community Board 2 Landmarks Committee, the only meeting of this month. And we have a number of applications. I would just remind for the new applicants, the procedure is to have the presentation, comments and questions from the committee, followed by members of the board, followed by guests and the public. And in your replies to any of the suggestions or questions can be minimal. You need not repeat everything that was said in the application. I would remind everyone, and we've sent a few emails around to particulars, that photographs of comparable situations in support of the application must be from the neighborhood or similar neighborhood in the district. It must be certified that the examples are clearly historic, or if after designation of the district, had the approval of the Landmarks Commission. The first application is 344 Bowery to install an art mural on the north facade of the building. And Eugene, when you're able to get the applicant or applicants up, we'll hear from them.
Okay, I'm promoting Guillaume to a panelist.
When everybody's on, I want to just read one more bit.
Okay, I think Guillaume has joined. If there's anyone else that needs to be presenting, if you could raise your hand. Okay, Guillaume, if
okay, we're in order, Eugene.
Yes, everyone's Guillaume's been promoted.
Okay, I will just make a comment about this application. The purpose of this hearing is to form a recommendation concerning the appropriateness of the application for the building and the historic district, taking into consideration the request will be in effect granting a waiver to the regulations for painted wall signs with respect to size, placement, and other considerations. The mandate of this committee is to take into consideration the aesthetic effect of any painted wall sign, as well as the connection to the district. Thank you. Okay, would you please make your presentation? And share your screen.
Hi, is there any problem?
Eugene Guillaume says that he thinks he cannot speak.
There's another person also logged in with the same name. So let me put out the other. Okay, so if you could try again, Guillaume.
Yes. Hi, sorry. I think everybody can hear me now.
Yes.
Sorry for that. I'm not sure what happened. I'm a Google person, so I'm not very familiar with Zoom. And we should have also Claire Meyer, which is presenting with me. There she is. So she's under Guillaume Boucher as well. That's why, yes.
Yeah, I don't know why I got my name is set to Guillaume Boucher.
I believe because the invitation must be mine, and I shared it with you. So that's probably
Makes sense.
So yes, thank you all for your time and offering us the opportunity to present you this application that we have been prepared for a couple of months now with the LPC. So I just want to make sure everybody can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
It's fine.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, so what we're presenting today is an homage to Basquiat through an art installation above Basquiat's former workshop at 344 Bowery by ONDP. So this is the project site. It's Bowery at Great Jones. And so we are talking about the north facade of the building that you're seeing right in the middle of the screen. The artist we've been approached by is from New Zealand. His name is ONDP, and he's specialized in large-scale realistic portraiture. And he actually already did a few projects with representing Basquiat. So this is an example of one of his projects. We can see the scale of it looking at the two person in the bottom, in the middle. It's their gigantic, hyper-realistic portrait. So the idea behind this project is to pay tribute to Jean-Michel Basquiat with a portrait mural at the location. And we're going to share with you a rendering of what we're planning to, we would like to do with the facade. And as you can see, we have a gigantic portrait of Basquiat. Can everybody still hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So again, this is a zoom on the location. We are at the corner of Bowery at Great Jones. I wanted to share an example of the type of murals we had and that got approval by the LPC just around the corner at 2 Bleecker. So the LPC asked us to share with you a couple of other view from the block. So this is how it looks actually from the sky, as we have a Google Earth view on the left side, and on the right we have a view from the east sidewalk of Bowery. We also looked in the municipal archive to see that in the 80s, the building actually had some it was advertising at the time when we were looking something, doing a art project, but the facade was used in the past for some other purpose. And
So,
I'm going to share, with Claire.
To us, this project has a real significance because we're located right next to Basquiat's former workshop. Maybe you're aware of this, which is on 57 Great Jones. It was actually a space that was purchased by Andy Warhol in the first place and then rented to Basquiat. And he created some art there and ended his life and died in the apartment in 1988 there. So nowadays, the building is still a destination for a lot of fans of the artist to come over, and the facade of the former workshop has a lot of tributes and messages of love dedicated to Basquiat. So you can see in the next slide some pictures of the front of the workshop that is located right to the right of where we want to put the mural. So we've also, to us, this project is truly important, and 4 different things are at stake. First, it's about honoring Basquiat's legacy. We're super close to the workshop, and there's a real connection. It makes sense for us to keep this legacy alive. It helps also promote the neighborhood cultural identity, highlights the area's role as a hub, and it will definitely boost engagement, if not tourism, with a lot of picture, of course, foot traffic. This district is known for its cultural and artistic involvement. So for us, it's truly important to highlight that. And finally, it brings a true educational value. Not everyone knows that Basquiat's former workshop was located there. So it allows us to really highlight this.
And just to finish, we just have a few information. So this project should take approximately 2 to 3 weeks to be fully completed using a scissor lift. So that's a fairly easy process. It will cover approximately 50% of the facade. The wall is already coated with oil-based paint, and we're gonna use we would use actually also acrylic-based aerosol paints. Owen views these exterior works as one of would be. Yeah, the thing is that we really think and believe that over time it's gonna get better and better. It's gonna patina very well. And it would be like fine wine. Over time, the piece would more and more look like an aging Renaissance painting. Sorry, and that kind of work can last over a decade. So the fact that it's gonna stay for years is really something that is great to look at. And some other examples of the type of work from Owen. And this is it.
Wait 1 minute. So that's that is the presentation, Chenault.
For purpose of the discussion, could you put up the rendering?
Sure.
And just one thing before the committee questions.
Yes.
Do you have anything that you can show us about this degrading? The concern, of course, is things that look like they have been kept up, and that seems to be an artistic idea. Or can you just describe better what it will be when it comes to?
So I think the main thing will be that the painting will patina over time. So it won't be that it will get really destroyed or damaged. It's more that it will create a nice patina and fade a little bit over time. But I don't think it will ever become something that's very blurry or anything like that.
So black will become gray and
Exactly, yeah.
it's losing the color, if you will, the color being black.
Exactly, like a leather patinating, like similar to this.
Susan?
Okay, I'm going to start off. Hi, thank you for your presentation. I'm the vice chair of this committee. And I have some very serious concerns about the nature of the imagery here that I would like to share with you, and a question for you. You know, this mural is a photorealistic appropriation of this major artist's likeness. So it's an appropriation of his own image, not really an homage to his artistic legacy. And it really seems more like branding than a recognition of the actual meaning or content of this very important artist's work. You know, the work is historically significant and deeply connected to a particular time and place, which is now a historic district. Street art, SAMO, issues of racial identity, social commentary, the things that we really associate, the graphic graffiti-like imagery, the bright colors are now replaced by a work that feels more like a Calvin Klein ad, a branding thing, than it does actually anything that resonates with the visual importance of this work and what that visual importance has underneath it and is reflecting, and what that visual importance means in the context of this neighborhood. You know, you cite cultural significance, but I feel like it's being erased here. You know, and my question for you, I guess, is what, other than being in a building that's near the one where Basquiat once lived and worked, connects this imagery to his actual legacy and to the community? That's my question for you.
Okay, I will maybe let Claire respond or complete. So basically, this is a picture that was taken by Andy Warhol himself at the workshop, just down the. It's from a series of Polaroid. I can try to find it.
No, I'm familiar with those photographs, and many of us are, so don't worry about that. I'm not questioning the legitimacy or whether this is really Basquiat. Obviously it is, but that's not really what my question is.
Yeah.
I think on several levels. I think first it's more of the identity of also Owen's DP and his own style that you can see in all of the different graffitis that he worked on in the past. So it's also his own signature that maybe is indeed a new appropriation of what Basquiat did, and maybe something that is a little bit more linked to globalization and the way we perceive art today. So it's definitely a new type of reflection and thinking, a way of thinking about the arts. And I think that's also totally, like you mentioned, Calvin Klein. I mean, if we talk about Andy Warhol and the way he used those canned soup for a critique of globalization, that can also be a new approach to the way we perceive Basquiat's work. So I think it's also seeing it from a different angle. I also think ONDP's art and ONDP's himself wouldn't be comfortable doing a duplicate or something inspired by Basquiat's work. I think it's more of his own style of art and style of work, and so that's more aligned with him. And finally, I think to answer your question of it just being located next to the workshop, I do think that when you see Basquiat's former workshop, you truly identify that it's his. I mean, there's the crown on top of it. There are a lot of graffitis. So I think it's a true echo to actually the workshop that is right next door, and the workshop still has this very vivid identity of what Basquiat has done in the past and has created, especially because a lot of people contributed to the facade of the workshop now. So I don't think it would be necessary to actually create something that is a derivative of Basquiat's work. I think it's quite interesting to use this photography as a new look also on his work, and on Andy Warhol's work also, that was that painted and then did some art in the studio next door. So to me, it's more of that approach on the picture, and I understand where you're coming from, but I think it adds a new layer to his work.
Okay, thank you for your answer. I hope that you understand that we are here to really evaluate the public aesthetics in not only the image and the size and all of that, but also the aesthetic impact in the context of its meaning and appropriateness in a designated historic district. So there's that extra layer, and I think that's where, I certainly have some concern, and as well as the concern that I'm not quite sure how, with all due respect to the New Zealand artist, I'm not sure how significant that is given the very important cultural context of this work, Anyway, I yield. Brian.
Well, thank you, Susan. Certainly, Owen is an accomplished artist, and he's got proof of that, of his examples in the city. So the quality of the art is, I think, unquestioned because of that history. Well, as an artist myself, painting acrylic over oil paint that is on the wall, I have always been told that those two are incompatible, that the acrylic will not adhere to the oil paint. So I am very concerned about that, but if there are experts that are involved with the project to have resolved that some way, I'd be certainly interested to know how that is able to avoid what I've always been told is not a good match. The facade of this building with the mural, it certainly strikes me that the image itself is on 80, maybe even 90% of the facade, rather than the quoted 50% of the facade. So I certainly have to question that calculation.
I can share again. You're gonna see, because if you split that in two in the middle, you see that there's a bit missing here. Well, I agree, it's maybe not 50, closer to 60, but it's definitely not 80, because you have we're on the half. There's a bit of hair going on further halfway, but if not, it's really the half of the building.
Yeah, that doesn't count that way. That's not the way the image is calculated. If you're extending part of the image to one side or the other, you have to measure to that side. And well, anyway, I'm sure that
I'll just speak about that before you go.
Rules about total coverage on a facade, and that's what we have to operate with. If the rule says 3 feet from the edge, that's the way it has to be. And we don't write the rules, we're simply applying them. So that would be something that would be in consideration. And then finally, I noticed that at least one of the examples of his previous work of Basquiat, Owen's work with an image of Basquiat does show some of the other graphics that begin to reflect kind of the nature of his early art, at any rate. You also put a statement in there about the artistic rights, or I didn't quite see, I didn't read that where the rights to the image have been procured, who procured them, how that has gone down. One of you could tell us that.
Yeah, okay. That's a question.
Just
I
briefly,
think it's not
a landmark question.
I think what the way we've seen it was more as a replica of a photography, so not using the exact photographies. It's going to be painted. So we didn't look at it the way, we didn't look at it with trying to get credits for this photography, as it's going to be an inspiration and it's inspired by the Polaroids. So, but that's something that if you think is a concern, we can definitely look into it.
Okay, I thought it would be a concern.
I would like to bronze other thing. What we're going to be considering is whether whether we recommend that it conform to the regulations for a sign on a wall in a similar situation, or we recommend that it not. So that will be a, if you will, subjective decision that we'll make in the form of the resolution.
Okay.
Brian. Sorry, Bo. Brian, Bo.
I'm done. Thank you.
Bo.
So did I hear you say that the building is owned by the Warhol Foundation? Did you say that?
Our building?
That building
Yeah.
is owned by, who owns the building?
The building is, there's two different landlord here. And the majority, the stakeholder is it's a French lady. But I believe these apartments are in the trust.
No, but so my concern is what happens into the future. I mean, who owns the building and who owns the lot next door? The lot, is now a parking lot, so that's why.
I don't know. That I
Isn't
don't
that
know.
important? Or you don't think that's important? I mean.
Well, actually, I talked to the guy because we would need the space to we would need to use this space with the scissor lift to be able to paint. So I talked to the guy, and he was very excited about it. And not believe it or not, he's also building he also owns the small building next to it, and he's been sitting on this for I believe more than a decade, and he's not planning to do anything with it.
Who knows? Okay.
Who knows?
And then the other thing I just wanted to say was, wouldn't you rather display Basquiat's art than a picture of him? I don't understand the reason to display a picture of Basquiat, because we may know what he looks like. The average person doesn't. So the average person who walks by there just sees a random face on the side of the building, and it's meaningless, you know? Whereas maybe his artwork would mean something more to a person who just likes it, likes what it looks like, you know, and finds it interesting. I don't get the point of putting Basquiat's face on a building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think similarly to what we said in the beginning, first of all, it's Owens DP's artwork. So it's the way he interpreted Basquiat's heritage. So I think that's a first thing. And then I also think, and we can see it from his previous work, and I think it has a meaning because it's also about cultural identity, as you mentioned, and about like and embodying a presence, embodying the life of someone who lived in the workshop next door. So I don't think, and I don't think we would have ever considered working with an artist who would do a duplicate or something similar to Basquiat's work. And I think even if we had presented to you an artwork that was similar to his work, or that was like an inspiration from a painting, you would probably have argued similarly that it doesn't really make sense to do a copy of his work or to appropriate what is considered as Basquiat's art. So I think taking a different direction was what is most interesting to us. And secondly, I think similarly to the point I mentioned earlier, it's interesting to us to have and to address these cultural issues that you mentioned, and the cultural significance of the neighborhood through the embodiment of a Black figure. I also think, because it's interesting to put that in perspective with what is already existing on Basquiat's workshop. So to us, that's the way we see it, and that's more of the signature of the artist we're working with. So it was an artistic decision from Owens DP's.
And practically speaking, this is what's before us. And what we don't do is redesign projects. So this is what we're considering. So that's it.
Right, but even though I respect what you just said, Chanel, but I have to say that I think there are options other than a direct imitative quality. I mean, this work is so rich with major iconography that there are many ways to approach this other than just a picture of a guy's face. But we'll talk about that later. I do have a question, one more question, and that has to do with earlier, Guillaume, you mentioned, when you said we were approached by the artist. Who is we? I'm trying to understand who the entities involved here are.
No, we are as being in the building. So he looked at how to manage to connect with us. And Karen,
are you the representative? Excuse me for interrupting. I'm just trying to. Are you the representative of the building's owner?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's the missing piece. Okay.
So we went through the whole process with the LPC, having the owner involved in the first place to submit the application filled all the form, and now we're representing him in the way that he's letting us being the front face of the project because he's in France right now.
So you are the owner's rep?
Yeah, we can say it that way, yes.
Who's paying him?
And who's paying for this?
They're the artist.
The artist is paying for it. I see. I noticed on his website, there are a lot of images that you can sort of buy, and he has like a store on his website. So I imagine that that's part of this too.
Trust me, we'll make sure, we would make sure to have him doing it the right way.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that it's definitely an investment, and we want to make sure that it's going to be done with the right way, with the right insurance, with the right paint, and just making it the good quality.
Okay. Anita, do you have any questions?
No, just that it's completely overwhelms the neighborhood, the street, the historic district, and so it no matter what the image is, I just think it's too big. That's it.
Okay.
I have one more thing. I was spoken about the fact that we're considering on what basis we're evaluating it. The other thing is that was touched on by Brian is the question of the parking lot. We have very frequently now, with the lack of space in New York, a parking lot is considered a development site, whether the short term or the long term. Have you considered what will happen if the building goes up on that site? And have you investigated how high a building can go according to the size of the plot and the zoning?
Oh yeah, it would definitely cover most of the painting.
It's not owned by the same owner, is it?
No.
Oh, so if they build a
Just a
building, they
risk.
build a building.
It's a
that's
risk.
all.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how
Other
the
questions
problems in New
about
York.
Nothing lasts forever.
Is there anybody else on the committee with a question or a comment? Let's go to the public. Is there anybody, are you here to speak on this? Okay, thank you. Is there anybody online who has a question or a comment? Anybody from the public who would like to speak?
Yes, you've elevated me. So this is Pete Davies. Clearly the artist is very talented. I think one thing has to be addressed is the rule that the image cannot extend to the edge of the building, that it has to be pulled in. But we do have precedent elsewhere. I'm not sure in NoHo, but in SoHo, we have Frosty Meyer's mural that covers the entire wall, top to bottom, side to side. At the corner of Green and Prince, we have the trompe-l'oeil of the cast iron building mural that covers the entire thing. So theoretically, I don't have any issue with a artwork that goes to the edge. In fact, I think that diminishes the connection to a advertisement. I think when you border it and pull it in and frame it the way the rules say, that gives more of an impression of an advertisement than a mural. On the other hand, those works were done by artists who lived in the neighborhood. They were, unlike this work, which is not being done by the artist himself, who was present in the district. So I think that complicates things a little bit. We have other artists who live and worked nearby, Chuck Close, Washington, many others. I don't know, maybe it'd be fantastic to have all the blank walls that we're seeing going up in the neighborhood towers with images of the artists, but that's not what we're being proposed. So I think you all have a complicated decision to make. And I do have a question. Is the proposer, the applicant, a collector of Mr. Basquiat?
If the artist himself, yes, I'm a collector owning some pieces. I'm not sure about that, but probably some objects or other or books. I'm in a way is definitely a fan in any way.
I think that complicates if the applicant is an investment or an investor in the work of Basquiat. I think that complicates this choice even more.
Yeah.
And also the little building that was his studio. A couple of years ago, it was a blank facade. Now it has been covered with various imagery, including Basquiat's own imagery, but it gets tagged all the time. Unfortunately, a lot of the works in the neighborhood, including Frosty Meyer's The Wall, gets tagged. So there would have to be a maintenance provision or something, otherwise, or maybe not, but that's another complication. Anyway, welcome, good luck, thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Darlene.
I just think one thing regarding maintenance, the mural would definitely not be accessible to anyone. First, because the parking lot is closed at all time, and also because you would need like an extra long ladder to be able to reach the mural. So
That's nice, but we live in New
This is
York.
New York.
I know, but like
That's
we
a different animal.
haven't had any graffitis on the mural on the wall yet, even though there's nothing. So still.
Okay, thank you.
It's true, there's lots.
Darlene. Eugene, you've given Darlene.
Yes, I have. Darlene, you just need to unmute. And then you should be able to speak, Darlene.
So we're good?
Oh, no.
we
There's
still have a member from the public who wishes to.
Oh, sorry.
Darlene? Yeah, I'm not, I guess Darlene's having trouble unmuting, or she was responding to texts. Oh, she says she's lost all her audio. Maybe Darlene, if you could just put your question in the chat. Yeah, Susan, I'm not sure if Darlene can get her question.
All right, well, we may have to move on because we can't hear Darlene, nor can we see her question.
Okay.
All right, sorry, Darlene, we can't get to you. All right. Chanel, do you want to move on?
Sorry, is that all except for the?
Yes.
Okay, if the one who's having difficulty can get her comment into the chat, we'll consider it during the business session when we're making the resolution.
Okay, very good.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
The next application is 81 Spring Street. The application to install a flagpole and banner and to paint the exterior.
Okay, so I've promoted Nathan Rich, who should be presenting for 81 Spring Street.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nathan Rich. I'm an architect from an office called Peterson Rich Office, based in Brooklyn. And I'm representing the MoMA Design Store. And there's two representatives on from the design store, Gene Savitsky and Jesse Goldstein, who you can't see, but they're on the call as well. I'm going to open up our presentation here. Please let me know if you can see the screen.
Yes.
Great. Okay. So we're coming tonight with a relatively simple proposal, which is related to this building. The building is on the corner of Spring and Crosby. You may be familiar. And there's a renovation underway of the store on the ground floor of the building. Here is an historic photo of it it's sort of on the southeast corner of the block. And this wonderful photo that Thomas Struth took in 1978. The building also is here sort of on the left side of the screen. I think what these photos show is the historic condition.
Sir, in all of these pictures, I noticed we can't be absolutely clear which street is which. So could you just identify the two facades?
Sure. So Spring Street is sort of parallel to the frame here. And we're looking down Crosby Street, or up Crosby Street, I guess we would say, towards the north. And to go back here, where it says sort of Eli Lilly and clear view here is the Spring Street facade, and then the Crosby Street facade is sort of towards the right here. And the simple request or proposal that we're coming with tonight is to repaint the metal portions of the ground level facade, and to install a new flag signage on Crosby Street. I think the historic photos are helpful in just sort of showing the contrast of the base of the building with the original brick in terms of color and tone. And here is the building as it exists today. And again, the Spring Street facade is the sort of longer facade with the existing MoMA flag. And then the Crosby facade is the one with the sort of shorter storefront here on the right side of the image. And just to really clarify the scope that what we're proposing to do here is to repaint all of the metal at the base of the building. So that's the store, which is sort of on the sort of left side of the image here in this series of windows, as well as a separate entrance in a separate part of the building, but for consistency's sake, to repaint all of that. And then to add another.
All infill, all this metal in question.
I'm sorry?
Is this all infill to the masonry?
Yes, it is.
You refer to it as metal. It's metal infill, is that correct?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it's windows. It's the windows and some of the cast iron columns, and then the cornice. And here is where we're proposing to add a second flag to match the existing flag on Spring Street. Some details of the existing facade. It's a beautiful building, very much a quintessential sort of cast iron building. And all of this, of course, is preserved and part of the landmark of the building. And so what we're trying to do is this sort of brownish color. It's the historic name of the color is Charming Afternoon Tea. And what we're proposing to do is to paint it a darker color. And what we've done is we looked around the district for some comparable precedents. Sorry, here's sort of a map of the location of the building. And then in dark gray here within the district are some buildings that have similar conditions, cast iron, metal base, and then windows up above that might be of a different color. So for example, here on the same street at 100 Crosby, you have this sort of dark gray painted base of the building. And then you can see in this image on the bottom of the screen that the windows up above are this kind of reddish color here. So we've indicated the two different colors on the right side of the screen here for this. A similar condition at 99 Worcester Street, where the base of the building with the sort of storefront and retail is black. And then up above the windows, you can see peeking into the top of the image are this kind of dark, this kind of bluish gray color. So there being some differentiation between the base and the top, but these being colors that are quite common in the district. 92 Mercer, similar condition where you have the dark gray, blackish base, and then these green windows up above. And then finally, the Theory store here at 47 Green Street, also with a flag in this case, but with a black painted, the cast iron detail at the base, black painted, and then the dark blue windows up above. So moving on to our proposal, and this I think Mr. Spence will answer. It'll clarify kind of the elements that we're proposing to paint. You can see again the historic facade or this historic building here, this historic tax photo from the 1940s, and then our more recent rendering of the corner of that building on Crosby. And you can see the sort of canopy piece where we're proposing to paint it black, which is a mixture of metal and wood as well. There's some wood elements, and then the cast iron and metal elements. The doors are wood, but the cast iron columns and some of the bars at the base we're proposing to paint with this darker color. It's actually the black. It's called historic HC black, for historic color black. This image also shows that there's an existing flag on Spring, sort of creeping in the left side here, and where we're proposing to put a new flag on Crosby. And I'll clarify that. Here is our proposed elevation of the Spring Street facade, just a rendering with that existing flag in the rendering. So using that historic color black on the canopy, the columns, the base, the door. And then along Crosby, the sort of longer facade here is, you can see here that at the entry to the store, where we're proposing to paint at each of these windows, which also open into the store, and then at this separate entrance, which includes a service entrance to the store and a separate entrance into the building to the north here. So I should say that the work that's already underway has been approved by LPC, except for these elements that we're discussing tonight, which include, again, the color and this new flag. So speaking of the flag, this is the existing flag on Spring Street that also previously approved by the Landmarks Commission. So we're proposing to really replicate it and match it on Crosby. There's this kind of standout flagpole supported by these metal rods. It's a steel tube. The flag is leashed back to the facade to kind of protect it. And then it's a simple fabric flag with the MoMA logo on it. This is the view looking north on Crosby Street now. So the flag would sit just over the canopy on Crosby. I think it's worth noting here that this particular part of Crosby Street does not have a lot of these flags, so there's not a lot of visual noise. It would really be the only one within view from this particular location. And then the view looking south on Crosby, where also not a huge number of flags. There are not a lot of visual noise hanging off of the buildings there either. And this is nearby, looking east on Spring Street, where there is an existing store, the Allbirds store, that has 2 flagpoles. So there's precedent here for having 2 flags for a store. And then the view looking west on Spring Street, where you can see the existing MoMA flag and where we'd be replicating the second one on Crosby. I should note that the flag, we're being really careful to protect the existing building. So any attachments that we're making to it with the flagpole, the supports are going into the wood windows. Nothing's going into the brick. So, you know, we have a huge respect for this building and its history. Our elevations, the Spring Street elevation here, where again, we're proposing to paint the wood and metal elements. You can see in dark shown here, and then the new flag, which is located on the Crosby Street elevation to the right here with just this red line. And it would, again, just match the one that's on Spring Street. And as I mentioned, here are the details where the flag attachments, just like the current one on Spring Street, are all attached to the window frame, nothing penetrating the historic brick facade. And a rendered elevation along Crosby Street, just to kind of show the look of it. And that's it.
What is the dimension of the flag, please?
Let me go back to the drawings. The flag itself it's 22 feet in the air. The precise dimension of it, I don't know exactly, but let me see if I can get that for you.
Well,
It's 3 feet, it's 3 feet by 6 feet. Which again matches the existing flag on Spring Street.
The metal infill, just to be clear, it is the facade and the underside, everything that's infill as well as the underside of the canopies.
Yeah, it's the whole
kept
canopy.
referencing upstairs color of the windows and the examples, but that's not part of the application.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I think that this drawing kind of, it shows it. It might be a little unclear, but these windows would remain as they are in afternoon tea. And then everything along the ground level, the street level, would be painted.
Okay, and could you go back, please, to the elevation of the new flag facade?
This one here?
Yeah, so it's in the second window from the corner.
Correct. Yep.
That's all I have, Susan.
Okay, one quick question. In your photograph looking down Crosby Street, I didn't actually see any other banners, but perhaps I missed some. Are there any other banners on Crosby?
You mean in the existing condition here?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I
Sure.
couldn't see any. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. Okay. Thank you. Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. I'm impressed by photographs that you showed us because it indeed reinforces the idea that in this historic district, we don't have a lot of clutter and we don't have a lot of banners. So that's a real hard sell. In your depiction there, the proposed flag is to match the existing, and yet it looks like it's a bright red color instead of black and white. What is meant to be?
It's meant to be black and white. We just use red to call out the location of it.
Okay, and just out of curiosity, the building that you have shown is very long and narrow along on Crosby Street. I was wondering if those were added pieces that weren't part of the original, or is it all one building, or how did it come up? What's the history of that building? Was it built that way?
Everything you're seeing in this image?
For instance, I don't know if it goes beyond the right side of that image.
Oh, it does not. No, it does
Pretty
not.
long building, much longer than I thought.
Yeah, this is all the original building here.
Okay.
All right, Bo, Anita? We have no more questions in the room, Chenault. Let's go to the public. Is there anybody who is online who wishes to speak?
Hi, yeah, thank you. Pete Davies, Broadway Residents Coalition. I've lived on this block for over 45 years. I'm really familiar with this building. There are, unfortunately, a couple of banners on Crosby Street, but they're all on the east side of Crosby Street. There is not a single banner on the west side of Crosby Street, which is where this building is located. And it's interesting because Crosby Street on the east side has trees. There are no trees on the west side of Crosby Street. So the banners that exist, there's two on this
boundary.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
There are two banners farther north on this block, I believe around 100 Crosby, but the trees hide them. The banners on the block to the south, which are quite a ways down the block, are also between trees. So this banner, if it were to be installed on the west side of Crosby, would be the only visible banner that you could see for the stretch. I just want to point out to the committee that a couple of weeks ago, you all had a discussion about 594 Broadway, the installation of a new flag. This week, the commissioners had a very lengthy, in-depth discussion about, wow, we're getting too many banners in SoHo. And if we give this one the okay, then the next person's going to want it. And how do we say no? So this being the very first banner on the west side of Crosby is really inviting Uniqlo, Banana Republic, Museum of Ice Cream, Aritzia, all these stores that are going to want to say, wait a minute, look at us too. So this is a slippery slope, and I really urge the committee to recommend denial of this. They have a really big banner on Spring. Put up a little blade sign. That's all folks need coming down Crosby. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Is there anybody else? I don't see any other raised hands. Eugene, do you?
No, I don't see any others.
Okay.
Susan, I have other comment. The committee has received considerable written testimony opposing this application, citing the side street style and a few instances of flags compared to Broadway and similar corridors, as well as general proliferation of flags in the neighborhood. There were an unusually large number of written comments this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Noted. If I could also make the point that there are two issues that we are asking for consideration on. So we've heard these comments about the flag. I do hope that we can also consider maybe both of these issues. I haven't heard comment on the color.
Will be considered separately. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I would also make the point to the committee that the flag, we're talking about it as a part of Crosby Street, but one of the committee members asked the question of whether all of this is a part of the Crosby Street elevation, because the store is really about the corner of Crosby and Spring, and it has a presence on that corner. All the historic photos are of that corner. If I just go back to them for a minute. And so the flag is really more, I think, about addressing that corner as opposed to the entire street. This whole facade here is about sort of the corner, and it's flat, and the flag's presence is, I think, about addressing that corner. So I understand the point that there aren't a lot of flags perhaps along Crosby Street, but there are more on Spring, and it's including the Allbirds store that has two flags. So I would ask for consideration that it's a part of sort of the Spring Street commercial street.
Okay, thank you. I think we're done. Thank you for your presentation.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you. Next is 225 West 4th Street, the application to legalize an illuminated, non-advertising accessory business wall sign installed without LPC permits. I would note that in a prior posting of this version of the application included a fence. That matter is being heard by the commission staff. If there are members of the public who are concerned about the fence or anything relating to it, please direct your concerns about the fence to the Landmarks Commission, and on the commission website, there is a portal or a link to provide such comments. And this will not be heard at a public hearing at the Landmarks Commission meeting, so it's important that any concerns be sent in writing. And I would further say, this is an application that we heard when the entire project was before us. And the application stated signs above the entry door and on the 4th Street side are painted red script. And there was a discussion about illumination at the time, and the committee was assured that there would not be any. And then the resolution recommended approval of the off-white color of the building and the 2 painted signs. Okay, thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Perfect. So my name is Minosha. I work for Krishna Studios. I'm here today on behalf of our clients, the Little Ruby's Cafe. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. And just to confirm again, can everyone see my screen? Perfect. So yes, we're here to talk about Little Ruby's Cafe, located on West Village in the Greenwich Village Historic District. As mentioned, this is to legalize an illuminated non-advertising accessory business wall sign. Just to provide some basic contextual information, our property is located in the Greenwich Village Historic District, rather close to the center of the district in this highlighted blue triangle plot of land here. The site is a peninsula like site of sorts, surrounded by 3 streets. We have West 10th Street, West 4th Street, and then 7th Avenue South that you can see here cutting through the center of the Greenwich Village Historic District. So on this slide, I just wanted to share some historical and contextual information.
Sir, we're really only here to consider the question of the signs being illuminated, and we've reviewed all this in our review of the initial
Understood.
approval. So quickly, please, through this.
No problem.
If you
So
have
this
any
is
evidence
just
of a lighted sign, that would be germane.
correct. So I guess the significance of this slide is just to show obviously that advertising and commercial signage was a pretty major element of this property. It's been a commercial property for over 60 years. And most recently, as Rivera, the previous tenant prior to Little Ruby's Cafe, did include illuminated signage at the apex here of the building where West 4th and 7th Avenue South kind of merge. So just to kind of touch upon a little bit of the specifications of the sign. So the sign in question is located on the top right corner of the commercial portion of the building. Again, it's an illuminated sign using clear glass holders mounted to the wall with screws and 12 millimeter glass tubing, neon tubing as the source of the light for the sign. The sign is 13 square feet. It's 35 inches by 54 inches, and it's in compliance with zoning and the requirements for illuminated signs. So as previously mentioned, there was a previous approved application for the renovation of the exterior of the building. We had permission to paint the building white, and we also had permission to do painted signage for the commercial establishment. The tenants decided to omit the signage, the painted signage. There was painted signage located on the West 4th facade, as well as instead of a neon sign, it was a painted sign located at the top right corner along 7th Avenue South. So again, the previous tenant of this commercial building, Rivera, also had illuminated signage. So we felt that there was a level of appropriateness with proposing illuminated signage for the Ruby's Cafe. So you can see here in these bottom pictures, the client did move forward with providing the painted signage at the apex rather than an illuminated sign, as shown in Rivera's image above. And then if you could see in the bottom right photo there, you can kind of see the contextual images of the neon illuminated sign along 7th Avenue. It's important to note that, you know, the major commercial street of our property is 7th Avenue South. So again, we felt like there was some appropriateness of having the signage, the neon signage installed along the 7th Avenue facade, as well as it being the primary commercial entrance to the establishment. These are just some more photos of the existing conditions. As you can see, there's no longer any signage along the West 4th facade, but we did maintain the color white as the finish color for the building. You can also see the painted sign at the apex where West 4th and 7th Avenue meet. And then here are just some additional photos, again, of the existing conditions to just show the scale and size of the installed sign located along 7th Avenue South. These next couple slides are just contextual, just of other commercial signage that are also illuminated signs that have been done throughout the neighborhood, all which I believe are in the Greenwich Village Historic District.
Would you please concentrate on neon signs, because that's what we're here about. So
correct. The closest example of this is at Fedora, which is literally down the block from our site at 39 West 4th Street. And again, these are just some other examples of commercial establishments utilizing neon signage at their facades. And that's really all I have for today.
If you go back to the sign that the previous tenant had, that is not neon, is that correct? That's I can't see what the lighting is.
I believe it was neon or some kind of tubing lighting, glass tubing.
Well, that's important to know what it was. Can you zoom in more? Okay.
Seems to have overhead lighting rather than
That
internal.
would seem to suggest that it's not lighted itself. Was my point. Okay. Was it felt that the place couldn't be identified, that it needed the neon? I didn't quite understand why there was an urgency to do this without making a proper application for it.
So unfortunately, we were not involved during the decision of installing this sign. It may have been so that the clients weren't aware of the necessary process. But you know, we've since being on.
That seems just impossible, given the discussion at the initial application, that there would not be any illuminated signs. And we always really do ask very specific questions about this. Also, what assurance can we have that the sign on the end of the building is not going to be changed to an illuminated sign?
Well, I can assure you that the clients are now obviously aware of the process, and we're here today, you know, on their behalf to seek, you know, acceptance of the appropriateness of the installed sign without permits.
Okay, thank you. Susan?
I don't have any questions. How about anybody else?
No.
No. All right. Is there anybody from the public who has a question or a comment? Please raise your hand. There are no raised hands. All right. So I think we're good. Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you as well.
Oh, wait. Sorry, I spoke too soon. A hand just went up.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, a hand did go up, but it wasn't related to this. Never mind. Okay, we can go on. Thank you. Thanks very
Thank you.
much.
Take care. Take care,
43
everyone.
Bleecker Street. The application to install a new storefront and entrance marquees, accessibility ramps, construct a non-occupiable rooftop addition for elevators, stairs, and mechanical equipment.
Okay, I am promoting the list of presenters that I was given by the office, but look, it looks like there's also Shreya, so I'll promote Shreya as well.
Eugene.
Yes?
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, everyone. If you can hear me, I'm Ward Dennis, and I'm presenting. I'm not sure why my name is coming up as Shreya, but she is working with me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I will share my screen and we can get started. Okay. You can see the building?
Sorry, we can't see. You're not sharing yet.
Sorry.
That's okay.
How is that? Yeah,
That's
I can
good.
see that. Okay. So this is an application for 43 Bleecker Street, the 6-story loft building we're looking at in the photo here. It was constructed in 1896, designed by architect Ralph Townsend, located on Bleecker Street in the NoHo East Historic District, about one building off of Lafayette, between Lafayette and Bowery. These are a couple historic photos showing the much lovelier older subway kiosks, as well as the historic conditions for our storefronts. Our application is in part redoing the storefronts to bring them more in line with the historic condition, as well as constructing rooftop mechanical equipment, and elevator stair bulkheads. These are two views from about 1960 looking down the street, which give a very good view of the historic storefront conditions. And in particular, please note that there are these wrought iron grills at the base of the storefronts. And these do remain in some storefronts behind, they're buried behind panels. They haven't been seen in at least 30 or 40 years. But we do have some of them intact on the building, and we will be, as part of our proposal for new storefronts, we will be restoring those, and where they are missing, we will be replicating them in kind. And then this is a photo from the time of designation. You can see that the bulkheads at the base of the building have all been covered over, so those grills are behind at least some of these bulkheads, if not all of them. And then again, just showing the existing condition. The view on the right, you can see that there are a couple of smaller bulkheads on this side of the building. We will be removing these and installing a taller bulkhead for stairs and elevators and mechanical equipment. And then just two more views. This is a view on the left on Lafayette Street, our building up here, which has the vinyl advertising sign on it. We will be doing a lot of work with the LPC staff, including masonry restoration on the front, side, and rear facades. And on the right is the rear facade. There is a small alley, so this facade is pretty visible from Lafayette. As I think you all know, Lafayette, when it was cut through in this section, a lot of buildings were removed, and a lot of newer, smaller buildings like the one we see in the foreground come up. And then I'm going to talk about the storefronts and the work at the base of the building first. These are the existing conditions. You can see on the bottom row here in the details, the left-hand west entry was replaced probably in the mid to late 1960s or so. And then there are roll-down gates on all of the storefronts going across, and non-historic infill. The transoms that you saw in the historic photos have been removed and covered over. And then at the base, at the bulkheads, those wrought iron grills that you saw have been covered over, possibly removed in some cases, but we do know from probes that at least some of the grills do exist. And then on the right is the freight entrance. This is the bay that probably has the most historic fabric remaining, although the doors, this large transom panel, and the like are not historic. Some of the trim and the height of the transom bar is in its historic location. So this is just overall elevation showing existing conditions on the left, proposed work on the right. I will be talking about the rooftop equipment later on in more detail, but just to note that it's shown on the top right in the proposed. And then at the base of the building, the new storefronts, which pick up and match the historic configuration where you had lower transom bars at the four entries and higher transom bars at the storefronts, and then showing the grills, which will be the restored or replicated grills. And then we are also proposing, sorry, that jumped, but I can do that here. We're also proposing two ADA modifications. One is a very small ramp up to this westernmost entrance, and then the other is a longer ramp that serves both the commercial entrance here as well as the residential entrance here. And then finally, we are proposing over the westernmost and easternmost entrances marquees with the building address on it. The lettering for the marquees will be internally illuminated. And then just so you understand the program, the rightmost entry, which is to the east, is the residential entry. And then these two middle entries will be for retail. And the westernmost entry will also be for retail users. And I think that covers everything here. The ramps will be, as you can see on the bottom, the ramps will be painted diamond plate metal. There will be the longer ramps up and then has an entrance to this retail establishment, has a series of steps in the middle, and then an entrance to this retail establishment. I do want to point out that in this rendering, the grills are shown graphically. That's not meant to match what they look like historically. Those will be restored or replicated wrought iron grills. And then you can see the two marquees, one to the far east, one to the far west. The storefronts with their vertical divisions and transom bars, and then the lower transom bars at the four entries. And as I mentioned, not shown in the rendering, but the lettering on the marquees will be illuminated. The banner that you see up here, since we've just been talking about banners, this is an existing flagpole. So that is available for use by the tenants, but it's not a new flagpole. Some details for the ramps and the storefronts and the entries. The marquee is shown here. The ramp, this is at the westernmost entrance, so this is that very low ramp. There will be very low edge protection metal, I guess bumpers sort of on the ramp, on that ramp. And then typical retail entry in the center with the transom bar and aluminum doors. All of the storefront infill material will be aluminum. So it does match the historic configuration, but it is in a different material. And then at one of the eastern storefronts, the bulkhead, this is the grill that will be reinstalled. And then this is the diamond plate ramp coming up with painted metal handrails. And then additional details, plan details in particular, showing the location of the ramp. It was very tricky here because we do have this subway entrance. So we are maintaining required distances from the subway entrance and then providing accessible entry to both the residential entrance all the way to the right, as well as the retail entrance here. And then the steps up that you see here. And then to the west, there's that much shorter diamond plate ramp that only goes up about, half a foot or so. Turning to the marquee extends out a total of 8.5 feet, the two marquees, and they are about 6 feet 8 inches wide. The projection from the face of the building is about 7.5 feet because they're tucked into the openings there. And as I mentioned, there will be raised aluminum lettering with face acrylic and then internally illuminated. And then there will be an open metal fretwork on the looking up on the underside of the canopy marquee. Just some precedents. These are mostly from the SoHo Historic District, but showing similar ramps in metal diamond plate. The building is more of a SoHo kind of loft building, so we looked for similar building types nearby as precedents for the ramps, and obviously there are a number of those throughout the various districts. Similarly with the marquees, these are all examples from the NoHo Historic Districts, showing both legacy as well as landmarks approved. marquees noting the dates of the landmarks approval. On the top right, obviously the public theater, and then numerous buildings throughout the district. The bottom right, 18 Bleecker Street, that is on the other side of Bleecker Street and just down the block from our building. That was approved in 2017. And then this is the west elevation, turning now to the roof work.
Excuse me, before we
Yeah.
leave the facade, could we just got a couple things cleared up?
Yeah.
The historic entrance, the one on the right side, which is what cardinal point?
I'm sorry, it's this entrance over here.
The
This
entrance,
is
that one, yes.
yeah.
Is it being restored? Could it one said restored and reconfigured to provide accessibility?
It is the ramp will provide the accessibility. It will be a new storefront. The historic is really that it has its historic transom height. All the rest of the historic transoms throughout have been removed, but the condition there is very poor.
And you're representing that the ramp is considering the regulations of the minimum that can be on the sidewalk.
It's the minimum that can be on the sidewalk, and it has to work, as I mentioned, with the subway. So we are providing an accessible retail entry here, which would serve this area as well.
And that will be that's an access from the ramp.
That's an accessible ramp. Yes, that's the reason for the ramp is for accessibility.
That's fine. Thank you.
So again, turning to the roof, there are a number of smaller roof bulkheads on the building, which will be removed, and then the new bulkhead will be installed all the way on the eastern side of the building. So this is the west elevation. The bulkhead is all the way on the other side of the building. And then rear elevation showing the bulkhead and mechanical enclosure. We have 2 elevator overrides that stick up from the bulkhead, and then the elevator machine room and stair is in this lower section. And then this upper section is a mechanical screen, acoustical screen. And then same again on the east elevation. So you can see that the east elevation, the existing bulkhead on the parapet will be removed, and then a new bulkhead on the parapet with matching brick will be installed with the acoustical screen above, and then the stucco clad elevator overrides above that. Overview, a detailed view on the front showing the cornice at the top of the building, which will be restored. And then the bulkhead for the elevators rise up 15 feet 9 inches above the above the top of the cornice height. And then the stair bulkhead comes up about 3 feet 9 inches above the cornice height, with then a 4 foot 8 inch high mechanical screen above that. So again, the stairs are in this location. This is the elevator and elevator machine rooms, and then the mechanical equipment on top. Just some existing views of the roof showing the existing bulkheads and other stuff on the roof. And then a plan showing existing conditions on the left and then proposed on the right. Again, you can see that double stair on the far right-hand side, right at the parapet level, then a hallway, and then 2 elevators with machine rooms in between them, and then vestibule leading out to the roof. All of the other work on the roof will be furniture and equipment which will meet LPC rules. So we're not presenting that as part of this application. And then 1 level up on the roof, you can see this is the area where the mechanical screening is, with mechanical equipment in that area. and then the 2 elevators overrides coming up above that. And then, sorry, coming back. So then section through, you can see overall from the finished roof height, the elevator overrides are 23 feet tall, and the stair bulkhead is 11 feet tall. And again, the mechanical screening is 4 feet 8 inches above that. And then again, sections going the other direction, everything except for the east elevation, which will be brick, everything else will be stucco. And then just an axon view showing all of those pieces together. Again, the stairs are in this area here. This is the brick that will match the side facade, mechanical screen above that, and then 2 elevator overrides. And then we do have a mock-up up on the building. We have in these photos on the left is a view of the mock-up. In the middle is a rendered view. And then on the right, we have a detailed view of the mock-up as well as the location. So this is taken just from the corner of Mott Street on Bleecker, looking to the northwest. You can see the new brick wall that comes up to the side, the mechanical screen above it. And from this view, you will see one of the elevator overrides. Further east on Bleecker, between Mott and Elizabeth, sorry, there is some view. You start to get a lot of trees as you're moving east on Bleecker Street, so it is a bit hard to see, but you will see a bit of the elevator override from here and some of the mechanical screening. This is a view from just slightly south on Mott Street, just south of Bleecker. This is probably where you get the fullest view of the side of the building. And again, you're seeing that side elevation in brick coming up, and then the stucco clad stair bulkhead and elevator bulkhead with the mechanical screen above. This is a view on Mulberry, and there's about a 3 or 4 foot section on Mulberry where you can see just the barest hint of the elevator override sticking up here, and you can see that here on the rendered view. It is a very glimpsing view, but we wanted to include it to be complete. From Lafayette, you will see the elevator overrides, the 2 elevator overrides, and a very small bit of the mechanical screening above the front facade. The existing bulkhead on the west side of the building that you can see from this view will be removed. And then there is a location, again, a pretty small location, maybe 15 or 20 feet along the south side of Houston Street, looking to the northeast. It's hard to tell from this photo because the building in the foreground has scaffolding on it, but you will see a little bit of one of the elevator overrides from this view. And then last, from west on Bleecker Street, you have some visibility over the side elevation. Again, we are removing this bulkhead on the west elevation, and then you will see sticking up the 2 elevator overrides that are set much further back on the building. We did look through the NoHo districts for buildings of similar size with similarly visible bulkheads and other equipment on the roofs, and there are actually plenty of good examples. All of these, I think, that we are showing are, particularly with the bulkheads, are historic bulkheads that were constructed either when the buildings were built or well in the past. Some of the, on the bottom left, some of the equipment on top of this building was approved by Landmarks at 770 Broadway. And then obviously there are a lot of other equipment on the roofs of buildings throughout NoHo, including water towers and mechanical equipment. So that's the full scope of the work. Again, the application is for the storefront replacement, the 2 marquees, the 2 ADA ramps, and then the rooftop construction. Everything else is being handled at staff level.
Thank you, sir, for may I say, exhaustingly complete presentation. And I think everything is clear. Susan.
Anita.
Yeah, I'll start. I guess the first thing that really jumps out at me is the size of these canopies. I mean, I think it feels like it should be on Fifth Avenue or something. This is a really, really narrow, tight sidewalk with a very busy subway station. And I think you're really crowding that corner. And in fact, if there was a way of eliminating that sort of ankle hitter of a ramp right where that entrance squeezes up, maybe that ramp could be moved inside. I just think it's really congested. And I think the proposal is making it worse. But I just think the scale of those canopies on this particular street with the scale that we have existing is too big. And then there's one other, then I'll be quiet. Then I have one other comment, which is I'm trying to understand the transom design as it comes across the storefront. And for some reason, we have this very, you've designed this very large insulated curtain wall. It's like 2 feet high to try to resolve the elevation changes, I guess, as the sidewalk slopes. And
that's actually, these transoms are wider, but they are at the historic height of the transoms. And the width is in part the structural support for the marquees.
No problem with the width. I'm talking about the 2 foot solid above the door. If you look on your drawing, I don't know if there's a number on this, page 10. It just seems very heavy, and maybe there's a better way to. It looked like you got a 24-inch high beam there.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think that we could look at changing these 2 entries to be closer to the historic. Right now, the way that they're designed, honestly, is to match the height of what's here, which is where the marquees are. But these could be modified to be closer to the historic.
And then the one over on the end there has this big, on the left side, also has a really big, I just haven't seen that historically. Usually the doors, they don't add a thick element between the transoms. I think if you worked on it, we could probably get a lighter, a better design for that. And is this all aluminum storefront?
Yes. Except for the grills, which will be wrought iron.
And the doors, they have like no frame, I guess. Go right to the floor, all glass.
No, they have frames. We're showing frames on these.
Well, that's it for me now. But maybe somebody wants to pick up on one of those. Frank.
Well, I also have 2 comments about the marquees. For the transoms, let's combine those 2. And you mentioned that on the far east entrance that exists, there's some historic material that is still remaining and gives you some indication of the height of the transoms and so forth. and yet it's not indicated in your drawing. You're showing a very large glazing all the way down to the doors with no beam above the door at all. And that doesn't really reflect what is there. So I'm wondering why you're showing an existing condition that's not true to what's existing. My other comment is that you showed the marquees that the building address, I think you are lit from behind, and the underside of the marquee or the canopy is perforated or some pattern. Is that a translucent pattern that sheds light down onto the sidewalk?
I'm not sure. Joseph or Moshe, can you answer that question?
Yes, it has the patterns basically have openings that let some light, from my understanding. Yes.
So there will be some downlight coming through the underside. I would agree with the comment made that it sticks out into this over the sidewalk way too far. I mean, it's fine for the landing right in front of the door, but much more than that, it seems out of place for this kind of historic district and an industrial neighborhood or type of building. You had mentioned that there's an existing flagpole. We would normally see the type of flag or banner that would be incorporated with that. Is that going to be presented at a different time?
We don't have there's no tenant for the building, retail tenant for the building, so we don't have any proposal for that, but you can actually, let me move up a little bit. You can see that flagpole all the way on the left here. Right now, it's a banner pole. It does not have any banner on it. When a retail tenant comes in, that would be available for them to use. And any retail signage, including banners and the like that require landmarks approval, would go through landmarks either at staff level or come to you if it did not meet the staff rules.
Okay, my last comment is that as I looked up at the scaffolding and so forth on the roof, it seems to be in just hollow scaffolding with maybe some white netting or material. I had thought that it was required to be orange or something that could stand out more.
I think actually some of it is orange. We use two different colors so that we could distinguish between what was a stair bulkhead and then the acoustical screen is in a different color. So we do that so that we can tell what the different pieces are when we're looking up from the street. Otherwise, it all sort of blends together and you don't know what you're looking at. Okay, well,
I actually don't have any objection to the bulkhead. I think it's a necessity that we really just have to accommodate somehow. But I was just perplexed that your photograph that you're showing us right now looks like my photograph. I don't see any color, but I guess that's neither here nor there. Thank you.
You're right. Okay, Paul, can you go back to the, you have a slide with the existing and the proposed storefront?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Is this good?
Yeah.
Or the drawing?
No, that's it. That's it. That's kind of jarring for me to look at that because you have this nice old building and then you have a totally disconnected ground floor, disconnected to the style of the building. If you take each element, I understand what you're trying achieve and what you need and all of that. But if you look at the existing on the top portion of that, and then you quickly look down, it's a shock. It's like, this is like something, if this were new construction, you know, the old problem of new construction in a historic district, I might accept something like that, what you're proposing. You have a building. You have a building that has a lot of character and charm. I think you can make this a little more charming. This is not really, I mean, those two ramps, no, that shows me nothing. Could you just go back to the other one?
Okay.
You have to put one of those ramps inside. This is ridiculous. I mean, the street, you're just cluttering that sidewalk horribly. But this look, it looks like, I don't know what that element is that stretches at the, let's say, the top 2/3 of the bottom photo there. It looks like a beam across the facade of the building. I don't know what that is.
Are you looking at this?
Above that, right above that, above that.
This.
Yeah.
This is the existing cornice. They just, the renderer didn't put in the sheet metal.
Okay, but that's an old story on, you know, this is the rendering, you know, forgive us.
No, sorry,
You
this
can
is,
show us something.
the cornice is not part of the application. All of the cast iron and then the sheet metal at the cornice level will be restored. All of these lights and conduits that you see here will be removed. The renderer didn't render the cornice properly, and we will fix that before we get to landmarks. But all of the historic material is being retained and restored. All of the non-historic infill, the roll down gates, none of this storefront stuff is historic. All of this will be removed. And then the new storefronts are based on the historic configuration. So at the show windows, we have 2 show windows with a vertical mullion and then a transom bar coming across, and then the restored or replicated wrought iron grills at the bulkhead below. At the retail and residential entries, we have the transom set at a lower level, which was the historic condition. As Anita mentioned before, we do have these taller panels, and we can look at that further. I think that does deserve further look. But the height of the doors and the transoms here, and then the vertical mullion at the transoms, all of that is based on the historic condition that we can see in these historic photos. So you can see some of that here, the higher transom with the vertical division here, those wrought iron bulkhead grills here and here, which you can also see here. The lower transom height for the doors with the higher transoms above the doors. So the entire configuration of the infill is matching the historic condition. It is just by virtue of the fact that we are doing it in aluminum that it requires public hearing.
Well, can you go back to that photo again with the, you know, the 2 existing and the proposed? So right over there above the, you're telling me that on the existing, right above the subway fence there, that element is the same as the one you're showing on the lower photo?
Sorry, I'm not sure what you're pointing. Are you talking about these cast iron piers?
No, is that glass infill over there? Above, yeah, right in there. That's glass, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, that's glass. I think they're showing a reflection from the building across the street.
Right. So, but where does that glass? You're saying that little cartoon thing in the upper photo is that same glass portion?
Yeah.
Well, the new one's taller.
Yeah.
You get rid of the roll down gate and stuff.
Yeah. The roll down gates are at about the height of the historic transoms.
It used to be the Gene Frankel Theater, right?
Yeah, I remember. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm sorry, I have found one more thing in my notes.
Sure.
The illumination of the marquee signs. Can you show where that is and how they're illuminated?
It will be on the front and both sides, and they will be raised aluminum letters. So they will be solid aluminum on the
But how are
sides.
they illuminated? That's the question.
They're illuminated internally with acrylic panels on the front of the letters.
Okay.
Anita?
Yeah, I did want to say something about the signage. I think there's too much of it and the letters are too big. It's almost takes away from being able to read it somehow. I think if they were smaller, it would look classier, in my opinion. I don't think you need to label all three sides either. That would give a lot of
I'll note that.
illumination.
Okay.
Too much.
So we have a question from Carter. I promoted Carter to be a panelist. Carter, you
Go ahead,
Can you hear me?
Carter.
All
Yeah,
right.
we can-
I'm here standing in front of the building, and I don't know if it's possible, but if I can show my video without the screen being shared, because I just wanted to point out a few things. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
Okay. Is it possible to stop sharing the screen? So here's I'm going to start from the east side of the building. So when we look here at this entrance, if you look at it where the proposed height of the marquee is going to be, it's very low for the area. And I think that if you just look down the block, you can see that there's nothing at any low level on this block that extends out. And even on the other side, there's this is looking to the west. There's a marquee that's there, but it's an awning, but it's very light. So I think that here that's a little bit low. If you look, Bo and Anita and people have pointed out here, you can see the view along the front of the building. It's very narrow. I mean, putting in something that's 30 inches wide in front is really gets in the way of the subway here, as you can see as I just get a little bit closer. And I guess that ramp would be ending right in this area. So there's very little room from the subway. From this entranceway, this is where the smaller ramp would be. It really just sticks right out into the walkway. Looking in the building, there definitely seems to be, in the current configuration of the building, adequate room here to have some sort of an internal ramp before there's an elevator, if the elevator configuration is remaining. You can see here if there were, where the other marquee would be, it's a very odd location, I would think, to suddenly have a marquee. If you look in the building in the absence of where it's located, it may make sense, but there's sort of an angle to these two buildings, so I think it's a little bit of a strange thing. And then, Bo, just to your points, you can see if the elevation here is raised up, the building becomes much more vertical, and the storefront becomes much more vertical, and it just seems that the marquees interrupt the facade quite a bit. And then just for the flag, you guys can see there is a existing flag there that's zip tied to the existing pole. But I share a lot of the concerns that the committee had. I just wanted to show.
Carter, we're badly behind.
Yeah, I just wanted to show you this. But as far as the minimum configuration of the ADA ramps, I mean, the intrusion into the public walkway is very significant. And as somebody who uses the subway entrance, and this is heavily trafficked during the day, it really would be a big encroachment on the public walkway. Thank you.
Thanks, Carter. Thanks for your man on the street presentation. That's just great. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Reporter at large. Okay.
I think there was one more hand raised. Yes, Eugene?
Yes, it's Pete. So Pete,
Great.
go ahead.
I used to work in this building back when it was Culture Project, so I'm familiar with it. I share the concerns that have been raised about the ramp. As Anita said, I think it should be explored, the possibility of moving that ADA access inside due to the narrowness of the sidewalk, and it's only going to get more trafficked as new buildings are put in. The one thing that is in the presentation materials that was not mentioned is the standpipe that now exists to the right center of the storefront, where the ramp is proposed to go in, and therefore the standpipe is proposed to be moved to the west behind the subway entrance. So it's actually, right now, the standpipe is accessible from the curb. The proposal is to move the standpipe behind the subway stair, and FDNY would then have to navigate around the subway stair to access the standpipe. That seems to be not a good idea. So that situation with the ramp, which it's too wide for the sidewalk, should be looked at, moved inside. Also, all the examples shown in SoHo have a ramp on one end and a stair on the other. So the ramp area is accessible from both sides. This ramp is shown as a dead end on the east end of the ramp. So you can only access it from the west side, and the stairs.
There's a stair as well, yeah.
Yes, but then you have a trap, a dead end with a barrier, it's a trap, and it should be accessible from both ends, I think. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for pointing out the standpipe. We will, that is actually a LPC staff level item, but I think the FDNY comment is important, and we'll make sure that it meets their requirements as well.
If it's LPC staff, I'm surprised that it's gotten this far.
Hey, thank you. That
You're welcome.
been answered.
Okay, thanks, Pete. Anybody else? All right, doesn't look like it. So thank you very much. That was a
Thank you all very much.
presentation. We're very clear. Thank you.
Next application is 45th Avenue to raise the parapet at the upper level penthouse terrace, rebuild the parapet, replace terracotta unit with cast stone, and reset the existing ornamental corner units. I promise everyone this is not as complicated as it sounds. When you're ready, please.
Okay, promoting to attendees to present.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Let me go ahead and share my screen. I believe Dan Allen is also part of the presenters.
Okay, promoting Dan Allen as well.
Thank you.
And excuse me, I would say for this, we're very familiar with the district. Indeed, the building is one we pass often, and you would concentrate just on the project itself and what it
Yes,
offers. Thank you.
understood.
Thank you for promoting me. I'm just going to kick this off by saying this is indeed nowhere near as complicated as what my friend Denny just presented. I'm Dan Allen from CTA Architects, and I want to thank you for taking a look at our proposal. This is a magnificent building, and we're thrilled to be working on it.
Excuse me, Dan, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. Your voice is very soft. Perhaps you can sit closer to your microphone.
How about that? Does that work?
Much better,
All
thank
right.
you.
So I'm going to just keep this very brief because I know that you guys are behind schedule. But this is a magnificent building. We are already working on a landmarks approved restoration of the tower, which is a magnificent piece of the Greenwich Village skyline. I'm going to turn it over to Lara. Our proposal here is simple. It is to bring a terrace that was really probably never meant in the 1920s to be a terrace. Back in the day, terraces did not have the panache that they have now, or even subsequently in the later 20s and 30s. This was probably a utilitarian area, and so the balustrade and parapet around it was not of adequate height, is not of adequate height. And so our proposal here is to simply use other details on the building to bring the situation up to a code compliant and safe condition. I'm going to turn it over to Laura Blanco Moreno. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Can everyone hear me? Yes, beautiful. So as Dan noted, this is 45th Avenue. The scope of work is specific to the upper penthouse. You can see it on this image. As you can see, there are several elements throughout the building, these balusters that we can see in the penthouse level, the upper penthouse, and then also the tower. All of them actually have slightly different profiles, so we'll go into depth on that. As you noted, the building is pretty familiar, is on 5th Avenue between 10th and 11th Street. It sits on the northeast corner of the block, and it is within the historic district of the Greenwich Village District. So the area of work, as you can see here, is pretty high up in the building. There's a mock-up that was installed for this work. You'll see a close-up photo later. This is the code required height that we have to get to. The existing height of the parapet is 2'9", and we got to get to the 3'6" minimum that the code requires. So that is the difference in height visually that you have here. The proposed scope, as was noted, is to raise the parapet. On these sections, we would raise the brick, and on these sections, we'll modify the balusters to get to that height. These urns that you see on the corners will be just removed and reset once the work is completed. We included some images coming down 5th Avenue. You can't really see the area of work. This is a general image and a close-up. You actually can't see the upper penthouse from this vantage point. This is just the location that the photos were taken from. You can't see it either from the corner of East 10th Street. When you're looking up, the lower section of the penthouse still hides that upper penthouse section. And it's only when you get to 9th Street that the area becomes visible. And it is visible quite a ways, going down the street because the church is lower. So the vantage point, you still get that view from there, but you never get a very close-up view of the parapet. This is a closer-up image from that vantage point and what is visible from there. And then we also included an image. If you go west on 10th Street, you also can see the left side of the parapet in this case, which is only brick. There's no baluster on this side of the facade. These are some drone photographs showing the area that we're working on. This is the lower penthouse, and this is the upper penthouse section. This is also the water tower that Dan mentioned. So this is the parapet that we're talking about today. These are also this is the east elevation so that you can see the balustrade in connection with the rest of the building. And then here we have the west facade that we could see on that last photo, which only has brick. This is a more close-up photo of that mock-up with the tape. It was a little tricky. There was a lot of wind the day that we took the photos, but you can see the difference in the height from the existing height, which is here, to the new height that we have to get up to. This image is to show you the difference between the profiles that we've seen throughout the building. These are all existing profiles. And so it seems like they were used at several levels. Different profiles were used at different levels. So what we decided to do is these lower level profiles are actually higher. And so we thought the best idea was to incorporate these profiles, which are also historic and are part of the building, onto our parapet so that we could achieve the higher height to get to that level. So we would be installing these profiles plus a base on top of our water table, which is also typically seen in this lower section. I've included a side-by-side on the profile differences. These balusters are a little narrower, but again, they're seen throughout the building. This is also a photo from the interior, and as you can see, they're standing a little higher from the water table. This is a photo mock-up that we prepared that shows you the difference. So what the proposed elevation would look like. As you can see here, we have it at the height of the existing parapet, that 2'9", and then we have here the new balusters, which are slimmer and, higher, and then the height of the new parapet. Now, the additional element that we are incorporating, which isn't historic, is we would want to incorporate some metal rods between the units. This is because the code requirements now indicate that the space between any elements in a railing cannot be more than 4 inches in diameter, and therefore the space between the balusters is too big, and we have to incorporate an element to make sure that nothing that is 4 inches can go through. So the plan for this element is to set it back a little so that it is not as visible from the street and would just go away when looking at it from the street, and to paint it the same color as the baluster so that it kind of fades away with the view of the baluster. These are just drawings showing you the area of the work within the building, which is only the only area that we're touching is this location, the upper penthouse. These are elevations where you can see it. There's nothing going on at the north elevation. The south elevation is the main one that you see from the street. The east elevation, again, you don't see it much from the street, but it would run across this section. And then on the west elevation, you only see it walking down west. This is an image of, a plan of the proposed work. There are some metal elements that we work with a structural engineer in order to make sure that the structural integrity of the parapet is appropriate. So that's why we're also proposing that this work be done with cast stone, because it can encapsulate all of this metal work that is required for the structural stability. And then as you can see, these items on the corners, the urns and the step units would just be removed and reset. These are the elevations, and you can see the change in elevation. It's about 3 courses of brick, and then the metal elements that go in between the balusters on both sides. And then on this elevation, on the east elevation, we want to make sure that this connection is still there with the rest of the band that we saw on that elevation. That's how we connect it. And then on the west elevation, we just have those 3 courses of brick that were going up. These are just some details showing this metal rod that would be offset toward the back so that is not as visible from the street, and just showing how all this, structural work will be integrated into the stones. These urns, again, will just be reset. And these are the typical details on the brick areas, as you can see on this key plan. And that's it.
I think you're muted.
Oh.
Thank you. We had this very house before us a number of years ago, and I recall what great care was taken with this very facade. It was windows, I believe. And clearly equal care is taken here. Would it be safe to say that not a soul passing in the street would ever know anything happened?
I think that's a pretty accurate statement. What do you think, Lara?
I agree. I think, that's definitely the intention.
I'm asking you to represent that. That's why I say thank you. Susan.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Brian?
Well, yes. I think how fortunate it is that the lower penthouse is of the code height. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the lower penthouse does meet the code required height. Yes.
And I think that there's a bit of history here that was built as a penthouse. And so they needed to do that, whereas the area that we're addressing probably was a utilitarian area and was not considered, it wasn't considered necessary to make it that height. So we're changing, that's the only change we're making.
Okay, and then we're going to end up, after this change, 2 levels of a certain profile, and then on the top, right around the water tank, that's going to remain as the lower profile.
Yes.
The vintage and it's utilitarian that doesn't need a
correct.
Height.
We're not.
Yes.
Even for maintenance group, it seems like they count too.
I don't believe, unless there's any changes that they do to that level, it is original code compliant.
Okay, so I'm only concerned about the metal rods that you have between each one of these cast members. I must say that your depiction of them really stands out. I mean, there's nothing hiding that. So I have to wonder whether there's any study of any other colors, any other treatments.
We are open.
Colors are easy. I mean, these are painted metal. We can make them any color that the commission chooses and that people agree on.
Well, I wish I had a magic answer. But I'm sure that some mock-ups, some field testing, like you say, it's if you had some material out there, you could try different colors and see.
Sure. We could suggest that.
It appeared this would be easy to change if
absolutely
finally an absolute end.
We could do it ourselves over a weekend.
Well, I also commend you for the care being taken for all these details and making sure that the end product will still look like it's meant to be on this building.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful building.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Brian. Anybody else?
No, but I like Brian's idea. I think if it were painted maybe a dark color or a mirror. I know you can. But anyway, something that is makes it less obvious.
Understood.
Little stage magic. Okay. Thanks. I think we can go to the public now. I know we have some people here who wish to speak, so please come and join us.
And please be as brief as you can.
Hi, yeah, I'm actually the homeowner, but not involved with the presentation. And I think they did a spectacular job to keep it looking like it belongs there, which was not always how it was heading. So I'm very pleased with that. My only concern is exactly what you brought up, the metal rods, which I've actually just played around and put metal rods in between just to see what it looks like. And the white, I think, looks horrendous and just stands out in a really bad way. I'm not sure black might be better. I mean, I wish you didn't have to do rods at all there because none of the other levels have them. And it definitely takes away. But it's a code issue. I don't really know, but it sounds like there's no choice. So if there's no choice, the only question is the coloring. Is there a way to make them disappear more? Have them thinner?
They're, if I can jump in, sir, and thank you. They're not intended to be white. They're intended to be a pale gray. This, like much of our terracotta in New York, is a slip-coated terracotta intended to and so we were trying to match that, but we are open to any colors that the homeowners, the commission, the co-op board, anybody agrees on. We're perfectly fine with that.
Do that before you go to landmarks. Because that would help you.
Thank you.
Okay, is that it?
My only concern.
Okay,
Thank
that
you.
sounds
Thank
very
you all.
eminently.
Nice.
Yeah, lucky you. No, it sounds eminently resolvable, so that's good. All right. Anybody else from the public? No, so we can move on.
Thank you very, very much. Good evening.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Presentation and for the
Thank you, Laura.
design. 94 Bank Street. Application to replace the front facade windows in kind, construct rooftop and rear yard additions, and elevate below proposed. Oh, sorry, excavate. There's an error here. Excavate below the proposed rear yard extension.
Great. So I've promoted Alexander Blakely and Socorro Fernandez. Sarah Sure looks like maybe she's raised her hand for this, so I will promote her as well.
Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening. My name is Sarah Scher from Higgins Quaysbarth and Partners, Preservation Consultants for the 94 Bank Street project. Just gonna pull up the presentation here. So you saw this presentation in March of this year, and we're back with some changes to the project since then. I believe through email correspondence, you indicated you wanted us to focus on the changes to the project since March. So that's how this has been organized. What we sent you is the full Landmarks presentation deck, which is being presented to Landmarks as a fresh project. It hasn't gone to public hearing yet. It will be seen by the commissioners for the first time on July 8th. So just a reminder, 94 Bank Street is located in the Greenwich Village Historic District on the south side of Bank Street between Hudson and Greenwich. It was originally constructed in 1838.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I neglect to say one thing. We've heard this in detail. If you would simply concentrate on what is new.
Definitely. Yes. It's just a friendly reminder that it was raised up a floor in 1886 and received an Italianate cornice at that time. And this is the existing condition today. And then you've seen the rear elevation before. It's coated. It has this 2-story clad extension at the back. This is a photo from the roof, so you may recall the sort of pinched in nature of this rear yard. This is the 94 Bank rear yard, and we're surrounded by extensions on all sides, which you can see in this photo. So top left, this is looking south from the rear yard. There's an enormous rear yard addition in front of the house, and then to the left, when you're standing in the rear yard, are these tall fences, and when you look to the right, there is a extension that was done before Landmarks designation, as well as a new construction along Greenwich Street. So here we have a few axons showing the existing condition, what you saw in March, and then the current view. So the previous proposal had a full height rear yard extension with a rooftop addition set above. So we've taken off the top floor of that rear yard extension to preserve the top floor of the house. And we've simplified the massing of the rooftop addition, which you can see here. So this does push the rooftop addition up, but we've removed this skylight extension here, and we've reduced the footprint of the mechanical enclosure. So in total, the mechanical enclosure gets brought in by 2 feet, and the penthouse is reduced in square footage by 60 square feet. So here are the front elevations showing the existing, previously proposed, currently proposed, simplification of the rooftop addition. I know you'd previously seen metal 6/6 windows. We're now proposing wood 1/1 windows, which we believe is more consistent with the Italianate renovation of the house in 1886. At the rear, so again, this was previously a full height rear yard extension. We're now preserving the top floor. Rear yard extension is clad in brick. There are piers on either side framing the new glass and metal infill at the rear. And then just here is a rendering. You had also had comments on the front door color. It was a pure white before, and now we're showing an off-white with a softer tone. The rooftop addition is the same materiality as presented before, which is a standing seam zinc. We rebuilt the mock-up. And this is what the mock-up looks like, and these are views from the west. And so there is one slight view of the mechanical enclosure down Bank Street, but this is seen against the background of taller buildings to the east. And then going north along Greenwich Street. So Greenwich Street is, it's an angled street and it's a wide street. So there is this visibility that we see here over the front facade of the penthouse addition. And then just little peaks of visibility here and here. When you're standing in front of the house, there is no visibility at all. This is a rendering showing what that visibility looks like. So here's the penthouse and here's the mechanical enclosure.
Could you zoom in, please?
Of course. So that is the zoomed in view. So this is the penthouse, this is mechanical enclosure, and these are other rooftops behind the house. So in terms of appropriateness for this sort of, it's about 10 feet along Greenwich Street where you have visibility of the rooftop addition. We see this as similar approvals to other unique circumstances for visibility where we have wide streets or a lot of frontage in front of a house. Just one block to our west, we have 105, 107 Bank Street with a approved penthouse with a similar visibility to what we're proposing here, maybe even a little greater. 44 Horatio Street has that large playground in front, so there's a lot of visibility for this rooftop addition that was approved in 2015. And then on the right, 65 Horatio 2021 approval also had an exposed side elevation as well as a wider street to look at. And so there's visibility over the top and the side. All of these are standing seam metal. So the proposal is in the spirit of those previous approvals, which relate to studio skylight additions in the Greenwich Village Historic District. Also adding to the appropriateness is just the uniqueness of this block. We have a lot of a variety of development, taller buildings and shorter buildings and additions both at the roof and the rear. This is 94 Bank. We can see we have additions on all of the rest of the row that's on this block. And then looking northwest here, we can see all of the rear yard extensions that are also part of that that existing condition that creates that tight point, and also just a variety of different views within the block. And that's the revision to the proposal. Happy to answer any questions.
Are you representing that the visibility of the penthouse is less than it was?
No, it is slightly more than it was because we got rid of the top floor of the rear addition. So because it is no longer I'll show you an axon. So see the house proposal previously was having the top floor go all the way out. And so the addition was sitting back here. We've pushed it up. We've reduced the footprint of the penthouse, but it's slightly pushed forward. So there's slightly more visibility of the penthouse.
So the dimensions of the penthouse are the same with the removal of the
No, we've reduced it by 60 square feet. We've reduced the penthouse by 60 square feet. But it's still, because it's such a small house, it's only 18 feet wide and 33 feet long.
What I'm just asking is did you simply remove the solarium and
No.
push it forward?
We removed this and we reduced this length.
Okay.
Yep. And we rearranged the mechanicals so that this would also be farther back from the front facade.
Okay. Susan?
All right, anybody have any questions? Brian?
Oh, yes. Well, comments, first of all, I thank you for all of the improvements. I think that this is has a lot to commend itself. I'm just dying to know why this penthouse or the roof additions have these angles.
So yes, sorry, I should have explained that. The penthouse itself is not angled. If you look in the plan, it's a straight line. It's the historic house that's at an angle. So it's an illusion because the historic house is at an angle and the addition is rectilinear. So it makes it look like the penthouse is leaning towards the visibility, but it's the house itself that's angled.
Wow, okay.
Right.
Anita, did you have anything?
Oh, it's an improvement. Thank you.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Anybody from the public? Chanel, did you have any other questions?
You have not been to the commission.
No, it will be a public hearing.
What we'll do then is rework our original proposal, our original resolution, and incorporate this so it will be presented as it is, not as a changed.
Got it. Yep, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
460 West Broadway. Enlarge a one-story adjoining structure on the roof deck of existing duplex unit on the 6th floor. I'm not totally clear on what this means, but I'm sure it will be evident from the presentation.
Hi, everyone. Stefano Maurici, I'm the architect. So let me share my screen right away. I'll try to be brief as possible. Okay, can everyone see the screen?
We cannot.
Oh, 1 second. Sorry about that.
And now we can, thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, I'll be very concise. So the building is 462 West Broadway. It's in the SoHo Cast Iron District. It used to be two buildings that have been in the past have been joined together. So these right here, this is a view to understand right away what the construction will be, is an addition to an existing penthouse. So this right here where the existing structure is 460 and this is 462. Now it's the same.
Could you zoom into the
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
Or maybe move it up. Yeah, good.
Oops.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this with the glass and the skylight in the back. This is the existing building. and the one that you see dashed in black is the addition. And this is, the height of the addition will be exactly the height of the existing parapet of the other portion, and where we would like to rebuild also the parapet here. Now, we built the mock-up today, so they sent me pictures and it's completely not visible from the street. So this is just, I can show you. I just added 2 pictures right away today while I was waiting. So this is a view from towards Houston Street. And this is the building, and the mock-up has been built in the back. So this is completely invisible from the street. Excuse the big truck in the front, but this is the building, and it's the mock-up is not visible. So this is a completely because we set back the whole addition, so it's not. We set it back so it's not visible from the street. This would be metal panels over a stud, metal stud construction, and these metal panels have a brass, old antique, vintage brass look. This would be the addition, and this here is the existing. This would be this is the view from the front. So this is the addition right here, with the stairs going up to the roof. And this would be the replacement of the existing parapet, which is a metal parapet. Another view, this is a view from the back. So this is the extension. In plan to understand, I'll go right away to the roof plan. So this is what is there right now. There's an existing skylight in the back, existing in the front, and this is the residence, the penthouse, and we're building right here. We would like to build right here in the terrace, which is a property of the same client. I'll just show you elevations to understand. So, well, this is a roof plan showing that the 2 roofs would be connected, and then there will be stairs from the terrace below going to the roof. These are elevations. This is let me get closer. This is just a simple elevation just to show the volumes. So this will be the new construction. This was the old 460. This is the 462. So this is the view from West Broadway, and this is the rear view. So this is the new construction, and this is the existing with the parapet that we're modifying. This would be the view from south, where you just see the parapet, and then the view from north, where you see the new addition, the panels. This is a section just to show this is the 5th floor. We're building on the 6th floor, and this is the existing section. We're building behind this, and this would be the new section of the addition. That's about it. Yeah.
What is the material, and could we see the picture of the addition, the external material?
So it's a metal with a brass finish. So it's steel with a brass finish.
With a
antique brass finish.
Antique brass.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to render, but it would be individual vertical panels Yeah.
And is this, do these two buildings, have they already been combined, or are they being newly combined?
No, they've been like this for, I think, 30, 40 years, 50 years.
So it's an existing
Yeah.
to a building that happens to be made up of two buildings.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Yeah.
Any questions here?
Is it very reflective? The metal?
No, it's not. That's what we try to avoid, is that we want to give it a patinus or an antique finish, so it's not reflective at all.
And is it visible from any place at all?
No. It's not from any street. No, it's impossible to see.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I must say that if those two buildings have been combined for that long, I wonder why they only put the circus coloring on 460 and not 462. It is the most colorful building, I think, on the street. And it looks like it's been that multicolored treatment for a long time. You see the contrast, the multicolored one, and then right next to plain brick.
Yeah.
It's a pretty funny. You would never think that they were combined buildings.
Never.
Okay. But you did very well, I think, in hiding the addition and keeping it simple. So there's really no objection. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody from the public with an opinion? Doesn't look like it. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good night.
I'm glad to be back with you all.
Chanel, do you want to start with the last one since the applicant is likely still here?
Yes. Are there comments?
Well, I don't think there's anything historic about it, but I don't think there's any objection because we can't see it from the public thoroughfare.
So we approved the application as submitted.
Yeah, you can't see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And shall we start at the beginning then?
Yeah, why not? Oh, Bowery. That was an interesting one. Mhm.
There are a lot of problems here, not just the ones that.
I'm sorry, are many people saying we can do all the others except the first one?
What's that?
I'm sorry, are you suggesting that we not start with the first one?
No, we should start with the first one.
Okay.
What I was saying was that there are many problems with this application, not just the strenuous objections, aesthetic objections that I expressed earlier. I mean, I don't know how many of these really concern us in the sense of rights issues and this kind of thing. I mean, I think those are very real concerns, but, those are risks that the applicant takes on. I don't know if they're for us to opine on. I don't know what you think about that. Chanel?
I think we could use the thing that we often say. The whole thing seems muddy. And we can't say that, but
it really does. I think
there is concern was expressed about.
Yeah.
It wouldn't really enter into our decision. It's called to the attention of people.
But even visually, I mean, we can speak about that.
Of course.
And this.
I mean, things like the rights to it, and
Yeah.
I think that the question of a building going up is germane because it would look funny sticking out over the top of a building.
No, it's not our problem. If they build a building, they lose the whole wall. It'll be just covered
It
up.
can be that high. That was my.
It'll be higher. Are you kidding?
That would now build that lot today would maximize the allowable square footage and height. I'm assured.
Positive.
Nobody wastes money on a halfway.
And that's the risk you take with lot line windows. They're there until they're no longer there.
Right.
And that's New York City life.
But here's the problem. Okay. You know that I have a strenuous objection to commodifying this artist's image in this way. And I don't find it respectful. I think given his history, it is a disrespectful commodification. The artist himself suffered in many ways from being exploited by others in the art world. He benefited in certain ways, but he was part of the tragedy of his early demise was the exploitation that he experienced in the art world, part of which was, you know, he had very strong concerns about being seen as a mascot. I mean, what is this, if not that? I feel like the history of his art that is the legacy that is perversely being honored here is the legacy, is the bad part of his legacy, not the beautiful artistic part of his legacy, but the really crummy business part of his legacy. I have such a strenuous objection to the content here that I think, you know, sure, we can consider, you know, does it need to be pulled back, on top of that, you know, what is the process here? An artist went to the building and said, okay, I want to paint this I want to make art on the side of your building. You know, we can't belabor what is art in this forum, but we can note and should note that on this artist's website, with all his other mural, and the applicant, the building owner said that the artist would be paying for this work. This is highly unusual, as we know, when, you know, this is not any model that we're familiar with. And in this committee, and it's certainly not a model that has anything to do with public art. So it's not really public art, it's something else. What is it? Well, the artist went to the building owner, it sounds like, with this proposal that he was self-financing. So what's the missing piece? You know, I looked on the artist's website and all his other, you know, he also is a gallery owner, and all his other murals are sold in a shop on his website. So the other Basquiat mural, you know, you can buy a picture of for $75. So it's really a business venture.
It's advertising.
So is it really art or is it advertising? And it's not, you know, it appears to be a public art installation. But I have problems with the fact that it really may not be what it appears to be.
And if this doesn't produce a profit by your reasoning,
it's branding too.
I think it's branding. I think it's taking a brand.
In this location in Manhattan, New York City, is oily.
Yeah.
We should just reject it.
I agree.
I think,
and on many levels, for many reasons.
I think we should reject it.
We have some whereases about it itself. It clearly exceeds any norm of a. Oh, first of all, why is it not a mural like approved murals?
Well, Chanel, did you check in to the differences in the regulation. Are we looking at this differently than others, signage, master plans for signs and so on?
It's being presented as something completely different.
Well, or I guess I should ask, are there regulations that we should be applying?
Oh, they would squeeze it in the number of square feet. I don't think it's possible to, if it's come up, I can't remember it, that I don't think that it's permitted to paint a wall sign, if we use that standard, where there are lot line windows. Does anyone ever recall that?
Oh, no, I think you can. It just depends on the size. You mean painting around it, right?
I don't recall that we've ever had such an application. I just wondered if there's.
Usually, no, you're right.
No, it's another way that this is highly unusual, I think.
The canvas ones are over windows, but
Right.
not this, no.
Well, first of all, in many respects, it does not conform to the regulations for a wall sign.
Not at all.
Right. At its most basic level.
I shouldn't do it all caps, though.
Also, I could imagine, can you imagine he would probably hate it beyond hate?
Oh, my God.
To have his face and not his work.
That's ridiculous.
It's really horrible.
The whole thing is ridiculous.
It's not like Chuck Close where the portrait is the art.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, okay, he interpreted a photograph.
His own self-portraits are quite powerful, by the way, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, does everybody, I mean, I feel strongly that we should deny the whole thing, obviously.
Absolutely.
What does everybody else think?
Oh, I don't think that's in dispute. We need to come up with rationales.
Okay. I think the point of the aging of it too, I mean, I don't think that wasn't really satisfactorily answered either. I mean, acrylic and oil are not a happy, do not a happy marriage make, as many of us.
The graffiti goes great with both of them.
So the idea that this will somehow self-patinate, in some aesthetically pleasing way seems like a really big assumption, and highly unlikely.
And even if it's perfectly maintained, do we want a nostril the size of, a big group of people? This is like the scale of it is really, I mean, you can see it from the moon. It's too big. It's just too big.
And the rich cultural connections have to do with street art, graffiti, SaMo.
Well, Harry, even he gets graffiti.
Iconic imagery, crowns, and this,
14th
that,
Street.
and
I mean, Houston Street.
yeah, it's not a big, right.
All right, we should move on.
Okay, let's
go. A lot of things.
Move on.
to do. 81 Spring, MoMA.
I feel really strongly that there should not be that extra flagpole.
Absolutely, I agree.
I agree.
And Crosby Street is the service road for Broadway.
Right.
They're not the same, they're different. And it's, or for Spring Street is a more thoroughfare than the Crosby.
The all of those things that I referenced, and there were a great many, maybe 6 altogether now. I may not have the number right, and I won't cite a number in the resolution. They were all made the same point that Crosby Street doesn't want to have a flagpole on it.
No. They're seeing their own corner without context, but that's not right.
Yeah, okay.
I like the store, but
That's different.
And then there's the aspect of the repainting of the metal portions of the facade, which I think is fine. I don't know what others.
Okay, so we're approving the painting and denying the flag.
Yes.
For the assorted reasons.
Yeah, right.
Good. I like that. Check.
4th Street, absolutely not.
Which one? Fourth Street?
The neon sign.
Yeah, the neon sign.
No.
Yeah, I would check.
We're not punitive, but they were clear. It would not be illuminated. And we approved the application with a non-illuminated sign, and particularly in neon. And we have declared, and I think we've gotten support universally from the commission, that unless it's existing or historic, the one on Fedora has been there since.
Oh, that, you can't reference that one. That's not the same. Although I didn't mind that little dash of neon, but that's just me, because it was a very discreet sign.
Fedora.
No, the little ruby. I mean, 7th Avenue, you know,
Wasn't bad, but okay.
not so precious, but I'll go with the committee.
What do you think, Brian?
I would say that we take violations of the stipulations and the criteria that were approved, very seriously. And to come back now and say, oh, well, it would be appropriate anyway. No, I don't.
That's a bad
I don't
thing.
think we have any reason to reverse ourselves.
And particularly because it's neon, we are not approving neon ever as a new installation.
Right. Yeah, we don't want that
There's several
precedent.
evidence that it was not neon in that sign he showed, because there were 2 big lights that shined down on it.
Right.
It was all conjecture, but no, the standard thing we say is no evidence was offered that there was neon on the premises.
And also there are so many other lighting signage options now. So they should just look into that.
And whatever they do, they should make an application.
Yeah, other ways to solve it. All right, Bleecker. Lot of problems.
A lot going on in a small space.
Well, it's a big building with a tiny, narrow, very busy, unbelievably busy corner.
The accessible ramp has to go inside.
Okay, could we go in order of the presentations?
Sure.
No. The masonry restoration, I just noted that it was being carried out.
Okay.
The first thing was obviously remove all the interventions, and then the configuration of the infill for which we saw problems. One was the transom over the doors.
Yes, two.
The problem is the picture that he showed clearly had one big window over the door, the historic picture. I don't know how we I agree with the way it looks, but that is what is clear on the historic picture.
What are you talking about? What? The transom I'm talking about is over the door. It's a big 24-inch high blank beam-ish that is not typical anywhere. I don't know. It's because they couldn't resolve the door heights. Just make the door taller. The bottom falls away, but you keep the top the same. You don't jump down based on.
Could we say that it should match the proportions and configuration of the historic photograph shown?
Well, the historic photograph is so muddled because it's got that roll down gate and it's filled in. I don't think we can. I think using common sense would work just as well, in that you don't add a big blank piece of wall where there never would have been one. So I think they have to go back to
it should be historic, faithful historic configuration of the infill.
Yeah, if that works for you.
I can. Here's the drawing if it helps you.
No, I know what it looks like, but you know, you really can't see what's behind it. But just a simple transom, it's more the solid I'm commenting
That's what
on.
I'm thinking too.
Not I have no, it's just because he couldn't resolve the height of the doors, but that's not.
And the applicant was open to.
Yeah. He said he would work on it, yeah. But it's very unfortunate because it makes it look
It's a
squashed.
confusing element with no precedent. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, canopy or marquee.
Terrible.
The service entrance got a bit muddled, but I believe that it's being preserved.
That the marquee is being preserved?
No. It's not there.
There's no marquee there.
No marquee.
There are two marquees, one at each entrance, right?
Proposed.
But nothing exists now.
I propose denying the marquees. They have nothing to do with the building.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, deny.
Okay, we agree.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes to deny, forget
Yes,
it.
to deny.
Yes.
And on that sidewalk, on that location, extra deny.
Never saw.
You have those?
Double deny. Therefore, the lettering and all that is moot because we recommend denying.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And any it's premature, obviously, because they're not proposing like a sign ban with a universal what do you call it?
Time.
Agreed to how it's going to be before the tenant's there.
Oh, I see. Right. Like a master plan. Right.
Yeah, they can.
Not to be considered. The ramp is clearly recommend denial of the ramp and that the maximum possible rampness be inside the building.
Well, there's two ramps. So which ramp are you suggesting be denied?
Well, the big one is the one that calls the big.
Close to the subway. The one close
About the subway.
Right.
Well, there's one that's only like a step, like
Yeah.
6 inches, 7 inches. And then there's one that's like 2 or 3 steps. So there's a big difference. One runs half the building length and the other runs, 6 feet or something. It's gonna congest that sidewalk terribly.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why it doesn't have a handrail or anything. I don't know. Pardon?
It needs to be totally rethought so that there is only one ramp and that it occupies less space on the sidewalk.
Definitely.
Yes.
And we can say, though it meets the regulations, the traffic and so forth in this particular location suggests that it's not appropriate.
Yeah, and then it takes into consideration the great number of people who come and go through that subway entrance.
Well, and also it is only a step. I mean, if it was 3 steps, you couldn't necessarily move it inside. This one, the first one that's tightest against the subway, could be moved inside because it's not that big a level change.
Right, right.
The other one, I don't think that's let them look at it, but that is not as intrusive to be accessing the subway.
And the most
To the west, I guess.
interesting or the most attractive thing we've always seen is when the door is lowered to grade and somehow the problem solved inside.
That's right.
Right. That's right.
At least to the west. I don't think you can do it to the east. But that's not my problem.
Hey guys, I had my hand up. It's Carter. I wanted to point out something that you guys jumped over in the historic tax photo. The elevation all the way on the east side is at grade in the tax photo. And it's something that changed since then. But if you look at the 2 tall wood doors, when they start at the sidewalk and go up, they are appropriate it looks normal. When you raise it up with the steps, the doors become shorter and it doesn't fit historically. That's what's off. If you know, when you look at the photograph.
Carter,
Yeah,
is it right or left on the photograph, the east?
It's the right side. So if you zoom in on the right side, I think it's the first photograph. It's interesting because I was trying to figure that out. It's the hold on, I'll tell you which photograph it is.
That's the entrance that was described as being somewhat intact.
That's what they say is intact, but it's just the transom opening at the top with 2 panes of window. But if you look, I'm sorry, I'm just if you look on page 3 of historical references, the photograph on the left side, on the bottom right of the left side photograph, you can see it has a photograph of the right entrance and it's at grade.
Well,
pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
clearly,
and you can see it has the historic really tall doors, and that looks right. But when you put the platform in, and then you put the marquee in, which you guys aren't going to recommend anyway, but it changes the whole proportions. And I would think if they're going to lift it up, which I don't think they should, but if they were going to lift it up, the door height should remain, because that's one of the historical references, I think, in the community, are the tall doors. And if you look even across the street, where there's a marquee, it's up higher, and they also have the tall doors. Everywhere has tall doors. So what they're proposing, and Bo, you really pointed it out, and you're like, why is this so squished, and why does it look so weird? And that's why, because all the characteristics of, you know, the loft buildings are kind of eliminated to make a modern building.
Exactly. We have to deny it. This is really, it's awful. It's really awful.
And it's done in a very secretive sort of way of not showing the elements and then solving these problems outside, and not showing how much is an encroachment on the public area. And
I
it
know
also
they don't give any of the dimensions where the clearances are. I noticed that too.
Yeah, and it also, it takes away from what's a beautiful building.
Looking at this photograph, doesn't that suggest what we're asking them to do in general?
Yeah, I mean,
yes, it is true. Yeah.
And the I don't know, the part that you were talking about, Bo, that was all smooth.
Yeah.
You know, if they're keeping it, but that's a beautiful transition in the building, and it's, you know, everything's all proportionally correct. I'm actually standing outside the building again, and it's a beautiful looking big loft building. But when you squish down all the front, it really just takes away from the building, and you know, it doesn't. It just takes away its engagement with everything else in the area.
So can we deny? Are we okay on that?
Yes, anything that they did on the street storefront and the sidewalk is not there yet.
Right.
Back to a little more work.
Yeah.
And the marquees are just, while it's true there are marquees, but they really
You're preaching to the choir.
No, I know.
Wishful thinking.
Carter, we agree. We just have.
Even if they're marquees of the district and not this building.
Yeah.
Well, not here. Forget it.
No, not here.
It looks like it belongs on Park Avenue or something.
Nice block, and they're just screwing it up.
Well, I think, you know, the largest part of our recommendation is that the original proportions be retained.
That's good.
You can see them in it's not that straight an arrow, I think. That's the problem. It would be for somebody who knows what it would have been, but.
And that statement is very important, but here's how they did the sleight of hand is that they start the reference point at the bottom of the ramp, like the height of the ramp up. But if you start the reference points at the sidewalk level, where the bottom of the columns all pull down to that proportion. But what they've done is they've smushed it up, put the ramp in, and that's what really screws up the proportions. So it's very important, I think, to just say that the keeping the proportions down to the sidewalk level.
Yeah, we should add that. That might help them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carter.
Carter, we're gonna move you to whatever neighborhood the next difficult.
I love the man, your man on the street persona really works.
Can you do that every meeting?
And interview a few passerbys too.
Well, you can really see it, right?
Here.
You can really see what's happening.
It's wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Have we covered all the?
No, the rooftop.
Oh, the bulkhead.
No objection from me.
Yeah, none for me.
Which one, what, on the? Still on the rooftop of the, okay.
All right, Fifth Avenue.
Fifth Avenue is good. That's just
Fine, it's fine.
That's it. End of story.
And I put in that the applicant agreed that the poles would be the.
At the metal rods.
Well, we should see that. I don't know why they didn't present that,
Thank goodness they didn't say make them out of glass.
but we're fine.
It's fine.
They're fussing so much, I think they'll fuss.
I'm confident that between the property owner and the architect that will get resolved.
The windows that they put in are.
The birds won't be able
And
to
then
fly.
you never know that everything wasn't original. It was rather extensive what they did with the facade.
Okay, can I just say on Bank Street, I object to the visibility of the rooftop. I'm sorry. I know they pulled a lot of it back and they made it from horrendous, they made it bad. You know, I mean, it's, and I don't like to look at these old row houses and see those protrusions on the roof. I'm sorry, I think it's not appropriate.
Which are you talking about?
Bank Street.
Bank Street.
Bank Street?
Yeah.
And
they could get rid of it.
Well, the volume of it was
we
bad.
have already, we're on dangerous ground changing our original one. Our original application approved the rooftop addition after a great deal of discussion. Now, the fact that it's more visible now
is relevant. It's more relevant. They made some. They made some
it's
changes.
the kind of trade-off of we ask
But
for.
we don't have to engage in that trade-off. That's what they came up with. I don't think
the top floor is exposed now, and the way they did that was push the.
Right.
What can I add to that on the I know people now refer to these artists' skylights, but there's nothing that refers to them. They're kind of suburban openings, suburban scale. Those art ateliers are very specific.
This is not an atelier.
And it is not, yeah.
Not even close. Not
So
even-
if they did get it more like that, I would like it better, yeah.
What would reduce the visibility in the place that's visible is if that taking the point to the east, which is the farthest point from the facade, if it were squared off to be in line with the facade rather than with the building, it would really reduce the visibility a great deal.
Oh, yeah.
I think the windows, changing the windows would help it a lot.
But I consider this an unacceptable
Unacceptable.
switch off in order to get the back facade.
Right.
You know, chop off the back of the penthouse. That's the.
Okay, we're on West Broadway.
Could we say that
We approved
it's approved
Oh, we did.
that it's not further forward than it was originally?
Say that again, Chenault, sorry.
That we approved it the way it was before. The distance from the front of the house, essentially. And we want that distance preserved because I frankly wanted to reject the penthouse and was persuaded that all things considered it was okay. And now it's even less okay because it's farther toward the front.
Right.
Well,
And,
so
and as we look at that angle, it wasn't the greenhouse that made the visibility problem. It was the forwardness of the west of the penthouse.
I mean, you know, again, it's not our problem really to or our place to redesign or to solve the problem. I think it's our place to just say it's unacceptably visible.
Right.
Yeah.
Appreciating all the changes, which we do, and all of that, but it's unacceptably visible from a public thoroughfare.
Yeah, I think we do have to, in the reworked resolution, represent what we said originally, and then the next one will be a subsequent revision made it more visible, which is not acceptable.
Yeah, that's perfect.
The other thing that I don't know that we even brought it up, we got so hung up with the penthouse, is the impossible window configuration. Now that we've exposed the back wall, it's worse because of the window configuration.
On the penthouse?
It's a modern thing over to one side. And we should ask for as we normally do, 3 punched windows in the historic configuration.
You're talking about the top floor.
The top floor that's now exposed in the back.
Top floor is now 3 punched windows.
But I thought it is now 3 punched windows.
Oh, yeah, I like that they stepped back. That was a good thing, right? Are you talking about the rear terrace?
Am I crazy?
Looking at 3 punched windows.
What page are you looking at, Susan?
Hang on, I lost it.
20.
$14.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the penthouse.
19.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, 19, you can see it most clearly.
Yeah, I see. Okay. It was the penthouse I was looking at. They're not the same windows, but maybe we could. Oh, it's a door in the middle, which is something we often see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think it's
I
fine.
was looking at the penthouse and not that floor.
Okay, got it.
So the rear facade we approve.
Yes.
I would.
And I didn't understand the excavation, because again, we didn't go into it. But
that didn't change.
We just keep that thing that the excavation is okay, provided that all the studies and the care and the monitoring.
Standard language, yeah.
Well, they focused on what was different.
Yeah, which is what we asked them to.
So it's really the penthouse is our only objection in the revision.
Yes.
No, one more.
No,
One more.
no, we did the last one.
Broadway. Oh, we did the last one. Amazing.
Israel attacked Iran.
What's that?
Israel.
I just saw that.
Oh, that was
We
that,
should close out.
that 6? Yes.
All right, I'm gonna end the Zoom meeting.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Bye, Bo.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you all. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Eugene. Good to see you.
Thanks, Eugene.
Can I,
Carter.
Okay.
Thanks, man. On the
Man at large.
We need to be sure to get this in on Tuesday because Wednesday is.
Because Wednesday is the meeting, yeah.
Oh, we're meeting next Wednesday?
I'll try to get all this
Wednesday,
done.
not Thursday, because of Juneteenth.
God, you got, so it's like the earth moving.
I know, right? What'd you say, Chenault?
I said I'll try to get it all done tomorrow sometime.
Okay, great.
You're a good man. Thank you.
I work out in the morning. I'll be strong.
Yeah, you go.
All right. Good night. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you both.